Hello, welcome to Granada Reports. We're live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, on the programme this evening.
Opening our arms for the broken-hearted, how the northwest will welcome refugees fleeing the war in Ukraine.
More from our team in Poland, including the midwife from Bury, providing some comfort to expectant mothers.
If you don't search your kids, this is the outcome. I've got ashes now for my son.
Here, this mum lost her son in a knife attack. Now she's warning parents to check their children for weapons.
The real-life Rocky Balboa story. We chat to UFC champion Michael Bisping as a film about his life and career hits the screen.
And spring has sprung. The head gardener at Quarry Bank tells us how to make the most of our green spaces. So please stay with us. First, though, that outpouring of kindness and support here for the Ukrainian women and children fleeing their war-torn homes. Tens of thousands of people have now registered their interest in sponsoring refugees. They're offering everything from spare bedrooms to rent-free properties. And as ever, the North West is throwing open its arms to help those most in need. They include young cancer patients who will be treated by doctors and nurses at Alder Hey Hospital and the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital. Tonight, we'll hear from our reporter Victoria Grimes, who's in Poland for us. But first, the people here, preparing to take in those mothers and children displaced by Russia's invasion. They've been speaking to our reporter, Tim Scott.
More devastation in Ukraine. A Russian strike on these flats in Kyiv killed 2 people. As more refugees leave the country, around 10,000 people an hour are signing up in the UK to house them. In Blackpool, Max Fox is putting the finishing touches to his spare bedroom. He'll soon travel to Poland to meet Ukrainian refugees and offer to house them in the flat he shares with his husband.
My house isn't the biggest house in the world. It's not even a house. It's a 2-bed flat. But yeah, we've got a spare room, myself and my husband. So we're willing to share our space. We have to help. It's if it was happening over here, then we'd expect exactly the same thing from another country. So why shouldn't we be helping them?
In Ashton-under-Lyne, property consultant Stephen Goodison showed me around one of 4 properties that local landlords will be renting out for free to Ukrainian refugees. Stephen's helped raise £20,000 from local businesses to pay their rent for a year.
Came up with the idea if we could acquire as many houses as we could get landlords to agree to let us rent them to Ukrainian refugees. And in that respect, it's been absolutely superb, the response.
What do you think it says about people around here that you've been able to raise so much money so quickly?
Having lived all my life in Tameside, I've known that every member of society, no matter who they are or how much money, if there's something which needs doing, Tameside will do it.
Sharon Baxter is from one of the local businesses who've helped Stephen fundraise the rent money.
We've all seen what's going on TV, and when Steve came asking for help, we were just happy to be able to do a little bit and, all work together to try and get this money to fund a house for the Ukrainian people.
And Ukrainians in Ashton-under-Lyne are grateful for the efforts people are making.
It just goes to show that when there is a tragedy like there is now, people do get together, people do get behind you, even though they may not have ever known what Ukraine was or is. Now, through this, they do know and they care.
But despite the high numbers signing up to house Ukrainian refugees in the UK, the government here are being criticised for delays and bureaucracy.
They have to wait weeks, advertise themselves on social media and hope that a British sponsor will find them, match them and then apply to the government for permission to house them. This is not online dating, this is a serious refugee crisis and we need to treat it like the serious crisis that it is.
Up till now, it's not been any great clarity in terms of what the scheme involves, so let's say what the role that they expect of local authorities. And therefore it's been very much left to ourselves perhaps to ask the right questions, but also perhaps to start preparation in case that we are needed to step up, as I say, in support of the refugees coming from Ukraine.
But away from politics, the North West public continue to do their bit. Members of the Hindu community in Bolton have gathered £50,000 worth of supplies. Volunteers from businesses across the town collected food, clothes, sanitary products and toys for children. The supplies will soon be shipped to Poland. Tim Scott, ITV News.
Well, that aid is on its way to Poland, and it's also where some amazing volunteers from the North West have gone to offer their support.
Yeah, only last night we were hearing from Wendy Warrington, the incredible midwife from Bury, who is out there working tirelessly as a first responder close to the border.
Today, she gave an expectant mum the most precious gift, reassurance and hope, as Victoria Grimes now reports.
As an old life is left behind, a new one grows. But this is no journey for an unborn child.
Kick.
This woman who we're calling Olga is 6 months pregnant with a baby girl. She's been travelling for days and is worried sick. Thanks to midwife Wendy, she's just heard her baby's heartbeats. Through her tears, she says she's relieved to know she's okay. Thank you, she says. There are such good people here.
Oh, Wendy, that was quite emotional.
It was actually, especially when she hugged me at the end and I had the tears. And for me, this is what I came to do, and to be able to reassure that lady who spent 18 hours travelling over here with a family, to escape, for her to be able to just listen to the baby's heartbeat and to reduce a mover to tears. It's such a small thing for me to just do that check on her, but that massive reassurance that it's given her, so it's been worthwhile, even if I've helped one person.
Also determined to do his bit is Stephen Bratherton. He left home in Crewe 3 days ago, bringing with him 40 burns treatment kits.
Today I handed them over to a Ukrainian network who will take them direct to Lviv Hospital, where they have 150 people with burns from the explosion 2 days ago. So finally they'll get the relief that they need.
Stephen's now registered as a driver and is willing to take a Ukrainian family wherever they want to go.
Day long. I can't walk very far, but I can drive all day long and it doesn't bother me. So yeah, whatever I can do to help. And I just hope this inspires more people to come and do what I'm doing.
And it's people like Liena and her toddler who Stephen could help. 2-year-old Daniel's excited to see the fire engines. His daddy is a firefighter, but he's stayed behind in Ukraine. As the bombs continue to fall, he's needed on the front line.
He nervous a lot. Crying sometimes. He want to get home to his grannies, to see his father, of course.
No one here wanted to leave their loved ones or their homes.
Ken's been her sole companion now for, 7 or 8 years.
Mike Felton drove for 4 days to pick up his mother-in-law, 83-year-old Nadia, and her dog, Kenda.
She told us beforehand, if Ken doesn't come, she doesn't come.
We're just normal people, she says. It wasn't our decision to leave. It was made for us. Mike is now facing red tape and regulations, another part of the relentless journey to get them home to Ellesmere Port. And from a mercy mission underway to another soon to begin. Stephen is still waiting at the reception centre. He says he'll keep coming back every week for as long as he's needed.
Wow, Vicky, so moving to see all those people helping out there. I know you're leaving tomorrow. What's it been like for you seeing how people are making a real difference to these aid efforts?
Well, Lucy, it's not a surprise, is it? In the Northwest, we're all from close-knit communities and we do what we can to help each other. So the fact that so many have stepped up to help here really is just testament to the very fibre of what makes our region so very special. Somebody else who's been incredibly moved by what they've seen here is Rob Rinder. He's here doing reports for his radio show. And I caught up with him and he told me about his grandfather, who was one of the Windermere 300, a Polish child child who was taken to safety in the Lake District during the Second World War. So for him, this had an especially poignant significance. And as I say, he was also very moved by the North West volunteers we told him about.
Let's talk up our British people and Granada viewers. You know, for every one person that's sort of defeatist and negative, there are thousands of great British people that are offering help. I think most important thing is to talk up what we can do rather than to talk about what we can't do for the people of Ukraine at the moment.
Well, so many people are opening their homes up, and we've had the news about the government funding that's going to help a little bit with that. Do you think that's going far enough? Do we need to do more?
Listen, it is a great thing. I mean, you know, we too often talk down the British people. It's time to talk them up. I cannot tell you the thousands of messages that I've had, that we've all had, of people are prepared to give whatever space and whatever they can, whatever hospitality they can to Ukrainian family. And that's great. And it's all very well to have a government scheme in place, but it's a virtue signal. It's empty unless those Ukrainian families, for the limited time that they want to be in the UK, can reach our country in the first place.
Well, I've caught up with Wendy tonight and she has given us an update. Olga is en route to Austria, where she's going to be able to get the medical care and attention that her baby needs. Now, that is all thanks to Wendy. Without her, it might not have happened. Without Paul, who we met yesterday, children who haven't smiled since this war began were given a few seconds of joy with those chocolate bars. And Stephen tonight, he's still at the reception centre waiting for a family that he can help along the way. All of those people are volunteers who are here from the Northwest to do what they can. We're leaving tomorrow. Tonight we're at Przemysl train station, where thousands of people are still arriving. Every hour another train comes in from Lviv in Ukraine, another from Odessa in Ukraine, all of them carrying people who are fleeing for their lives and desperate to find safety. They're queuing for days at the train station to board those trains. They need help when they get here, and thanks to those volunteers from the Northwest and from across the world, that is something that they will get.
Let's hope so. Vicky, thank you very much. Victoria Grimes in Poland for us tonight. Well, let's move on to other news now. And a mother whose 20-year-old son was stabbed to death says parents should be held responsible if their children are carrying knives.
Dylan Keelan from Duckenfield was killed after going to a party last month. Today his mum lent a voice to Greater Manchester Police's knife crime campaign, telling parents they should be searching their children for weapons. Our correspondent Lane Wilcox reports.
Nicola Wardle describes her perfect son. Dylan was kind and respectful and at the centre of her world. He was stabbed to death after going to a party in Duckenfield last month.
We went to work together, gym together, cooked food, you know. He was a really, really nice lad. He's hitting home now. He's not coming back. Ever.
The 20-year-old factory worker is the fourth young man to be fatally stabbed in Greater Manchester this year. His mum has called for parents to be prosecuted if their children are caught carrying a knife.
I think if they're under 18, it should fall on the parents. Maybe parents will be more wary of the children. If you don't search your kids, this is the outcome. I've got ashes now for my son.
Speaking as a mum of two boys, the Assistant Chief Constable hopes Nicola's appeal will strike a chord.
I would like to publicly thank Nicola for her support of the fight against violent crime. The heartbreak of losing a child is unimaginable, but this is a strong example of finding a way to turn a negative into a positive, as Dylan would have wanted.
How has it affected his friends?
They're scared. 21 and 22 and we're walking each other home at the moment. That's how much it's affected his friends.
Dylan was killed just weeks before his 21st birthday. He'd planned a holiday with friends who are now taking his ashes with them. Elaine Wilcox, ITV News, Tameside.
A powerful message from a grieving mother there. Well, next this evening, and after almost 200 days of evidence, the Manchester Arena inquiry has come to an end.
Yes, so much harrowing evidence for the families of those killed in the bombing, and now some of them are saying that they hope real changes will be made to stop future terror attacks.
Our correspondent Amy Welch has followed the inquiry for the last year and a half and joins us from court now. And Amy, the inquiry's heard from hundreds of witnesses. It's been a long and painful process for the families, hasn't it?
That's right. For the past 18 months, families have walked through these doors behind me, hoping for answers over why their loved ones died and whether more could have been done to stop the atrocity that was the Arena attack. 291 witnesses and experts have given evidence. 172,000 documents have been examined, and today, day 196, was a chance for MI5 to have their final say. Now, much of MI5's evidence was heard in secret because of concerns over national security, but today they stood by their decision not to reopen Salman Abedi as a subject of interest and say stopping him at Manchester Airport on his return from Libya 4 days before the attack was unlikely to have made any difference. Indeed, in 2017, they had 20,000 closed subjects of interest. Salman Abedi was one of them, but they say that decision was not influenced by a lack of resources. The inquiry also heard that there was insufficient evidence to suggest that convicted terrorist Abdul Rauf Abdallah had radicalised Abedi from prison or that any other associates were involved in the plot. And lawyers today praised the dignity, patience and strength of families who've sat through this process hoping for real change.
The families we represent desperately want something positive to come from this inquiry and for real changes to be made to keep members of the public safer from acts of terrorism in the future. We urge the inquiry to be equally clear, sighted and brave in its Chapter 2 and 3 reports dealing with the actions of the emergency services and the security services to ensure that real change is effected and this country becomes a safer place out of this dreadful act of terror.
So, Amy, now that that evidence has finished, what happens now?
The inquiry chairman, Sir John Saunders, now has 2 reports to write. Volume 2 will look at the emergency response and whether some victims may have survived with better medical treatment, and that will be published in the summer. And Volume 3, which will be published in the autumn, will look at the radicalisation of Salman Abedi and whether the security services could have done more to stop him. Now, the limitations of a public inquiry means Sir John Saunders will not have the power to look at whether criminal or civil action could be taken against individuals or organisations, but he does have the power to stand by his promise to be full, fair and fearless in ensuring these families get the truth they deserve.
Amy, thank you.
In other news today, and the MP for Blackpool South says helping commercial passenger flights return to the town's airport could be a crucial step in the government's levelling up agenda. Scott Benton says investments now would allow Blackpool to make the most of its location and tourism opportunities.
And Liverpool's world-famous Royal Liver building is up for sale for only the second time in its history. The building was sold only 5 years ago, and in that time it's been extensively refurbished. It's a Grade 1 listed building. It's let to several major companies, including Everton Football Club.
Well, next to surely the biggest sporting star ever to emerge from the Lancashire town of Clitheroe. Mixed martial arts hero Michael Bisping wrote his name in the history book 6 years ago when he was crowned Britain's first ever UFC champion. Well, last night he was back home in the Northwest for the premiere of a movie about his life. Chris Hall caught up with Michael and his wife Rebecca on the red carpet at the Manchester Film Festival.
He was the kid from Clitheroe who fought his way into Hollywood and remains the only British UFC champion, a title he won despite losing sight in one eye and being told he'd never fight again. That extraordinary life story last night marvelled Manchester.
Michael Bisping, if ever a sporting life story deserved the big screen treatment, it's yours, isn't it?
Oh, well, thank you very much. I don't know about that. I mean,
it's just our life.
It's just our life, but I guess there was a lot of ups.
What a life. It's been some story, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it has. A lot of ups and downs, a little bit of craziness, but it all worked out in the end.
And you have, in this movie, some major Hollywood stars. You've got Vin Diesel and Mickey Rourke. You are rubbing shoulders with some big names there.
Yeah, I dropped something down there, yeah.
I've never in my life heard of a fighter walk into a ring with one eye.
That's what makes Michael so dangerous, is his will to win.
Rebecca, has he gone all Hollywood now, or is there still a little bit of the lad from Clitheroe
there's
in there?
a lot of lad from Clitheroe.
Too much. She wants me to change. You know what I mean? She's like, come on, Michael.
He'll never change, and I think it's wonderful.
The film also highlights his less glamorous moments. Before he went to war in the Octagon in Las Vegas, Michael was fighting on the streets of Clitheroe.
So we come out here, and one guy that punched me, so I'm like, OK, well, it's on. And the other guy's edging closer and closer. And I could see him, but I didn't let him know that I could see him. Boom. Head kicked in. He hits the deck. The judge sentenced me to 28 days in prison. I think it's an important message, you know, because I was a kid that had no direction, didn't know what I wanted to do with life, and I was making a lot of mistakes. And it's never too late to turn it around. It's never too late to take a look at yourself and think, wow, what am I doing? And it was when I sadly went to prison, that was when I hit rock bottom. And I remember sitting there thinking, is this it? Is this what my life has come to? And I thought, I've got a beautiful wife. I had 2 children at the time. I've now got 3. I thought, I'm a very lucky man, and I am squandering everything.
I just always believed in Michael, and sometimes I didn't really know what the goal would be, but I always knew that he would be a success, and he would do us all proud.
What next for Michael Bisping? Will you go back into acting, perhaps? Or maybe a bit of DJing. DJ Mikey B, I remember.
Oh, the DJ days are long gone, but the acting side of stuff, I mean, I'm trying. It's a very competitive industry. I've got a couple of movies lined up for later this year, though.
I don't see him these days.
Yeah. It never ends, but it's great. It's a good problem to have.
If retirement brings even half the adventure of this biopic, then the sequel could be worth a watch too. Chris Hall, ITV News, Manchester.
Yeah, to say he's a bit of a character would be something of an understatement, I think, wouldn't it?
It would, Mike. Thank you very much. Brilliant sport tonight. Thank you. Now, good news, we all need a bit of that. And it appears that spring has sprung over the last couple of days, just what we need. And way back in the darkest of days in the Industrial Revolution, even before my time, one family created a stunning garden to lift their spirits.
Absolute nonsense. So it seemed like a lovely idea for us to take you to Quarry Bank in Cheshire tonight. It's now in the hands of the National Trust and has one of the best gardeners in the business. So he's been telling Paul Crone how to make the most of our green spaces.
A splash of colour, a dash of sunshine, and things always seem a little brighter. And if you need a pick-me-up, then the 465 acres at Quarry Bank in Cheshire isn't a bad place to start. The hellebores are heavenly and the camellias are cracking. A great time of year for the staff here.
This for me is the most wonderful time of the year. It's the promise of everything that you can do in the year. It's all the plans you've made over the years, all the work you've been doing throughout the winter, and those gardeners do work really hard in the winter, despite what you might think.
Spring has been creeping forward steadily for decades. Plants now flower a full month earlier than previous years. Wildlife experts and gardeners are reporting a series of highly unusually early sightings of flora, fauna and insects. So if you're a keen amateur gardener and you don't have to tend 465 acres, there's plenty of work for you to do.
It's also a good time of year to just get into the garden, get clearing the decks, get tidying up. It brings such a warm feeling to the heart when you get out there and actually start seeing the shoots coming through and making an impact in your own garden.
Do you know what? It's just so lovely and peaceful here, and it's safe to say that spring has definitely sprung at Quarry Bank. And if there's one thing a pandemic has taught us, it's how to get out and about and enjoy all the fauna and flora on our doorstep.
We almost get blind to it sometimes because we work here all the time, just how good it makes us feel to be in this environment. So when we see visitors sometimes and they come in, of recent years we've had so many lovely compliments, so many nice things that people have said to us, and which brings us kind of a warm feeling to the heart.
Feel better now? Good, my work here is done. Paul Crone, ITV News, Quarry Bank.
I do feel better for that, do you?
One of my favourite times of the year, spring.
Oh, it is the best, I think.
Flowers are in bloom. Kerry's got the details.
He's cooked up a storm and now he's going to scrape the fat into the bin instead of the sink. My guy.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hang on, was that fish?
Hello, very good evening to you. We did okay across the region today. A mackerel sky for many of you first thing this morning. A good start. Sky's not quite as blue as yesterday, but still feeling pretty spring-like across most parts of the northwest during the course of today. And it's going to feel even more spring-like by the time we reach the weekend. High pressure is building Friday into Saturday and Sunday. Dry and sunny. Some frosty, potentially foggy mornings, but some warmer afternoons where the sunburn risk will rise, certainly compared to what we've been used to over the past weeks and months. So we've just got to get tomorrow out of the way before that high pressure starts to build. And yes, Friday into Saturday, daytime highs in the south of the region could be 16 Celsius. The average is about 10, so that's not bad at all for the weekend for mid-March. In comparison, overnight tonight, the cloud starts to build from the west during the course of the night. Many places will be dry, but outbreaks of rain for the Isle of Man and Cumbria by dawn, and the wind's light. And last night got down to minus 2.6 Celsius at Nantwich. We're looking at 4s and 5s overnight tonight. Now, last night also, the aurora was visible in Wigan. A big thank you to Phil Carney for the shot. But as we head through into tomorrow, we are going to be plagued by this really slow-moving front pushing its way eastwards. So quite a bit of cloud, outbreaks of rain, but drier, clearer, colder from the west as we head into the early part of tomorrow night. So a frosty start as we head into Thursday. Some limited brightness before a weakening front perhaps clouds things up for a little bit and produces 1 or 2 showers, but already highs of 13 Celsius in any sunny spells. And then after Thursday, that sets the scene for a very settled outlook towards the weekend. Take care.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Bob! Emmy!
Looks like you're cutting the grass next
It does
weekend.
indeed.
No excuses, all those sunshines. Before we go, let's get some comments from you on opening your doors to refugees. Dawn in Liverpool says, of course I'll help. It's the least I can do for these people. I don't have much, but I can offer safety and love.
This one from Anna. I've signed up and I'm excited to see whether we are approved. I wanted to house somebody anyway, even without the financial incentives, but the money was a pleasant surprise.
Absolutely. We've had so many of these. And Matt says we've registered to host and we are hopeful that we can be matched to a family very soon.
Thanks for those comments. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.